Well, look, there's a huge demand for EVs. And what's happening now is that Tesla has inadvertently started a price war that other automakers just weren't ready for. So expect to see other automakers now, Ford, others will have to follow suit, slashing prices.
17 years ago, before many people watching this channel were even born, Tesla declared war on the world's automotive industry in their original secret master plan. A decade later, Tesla reiterated their plans to seize even more territory and cause even more casualties, yet the world completely ignored them once again. And now, more than half a decade after their second master plan, Tesla has once again declared war on the entire automotive industry. First, with a wave of price cuts nobody seemed to see coming, because they obviously hadn't read the first or second master plan. But not their fault, it's not like they've been published for the better part of a decade and a half. Oh wait, no they have, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. And in less than a month, at Tesla's 2023 Investor Day, another declaration of war, with details on their next generation vehicle platform. We're already starting to see Tesla's so-called competition drop like flies. A number of electric vehicle companies have already filed for bankruptcy or are very close to it 2023, and this is just the beginning. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to witness an absolute bloodbath in the automotive industry. Around a month ago, Tesla cut prices on their very profitable, highly compelling electric vehicles, forcing the hand of other automotive manufacturers, making their not so compelling, unprofitable electric vehicles having to cut prices and lose even more money per vehicle sold. Probably doesn't end well. Miraculously, the stock market finally recognized that, believe it or not, Tesla has pricing power and they can actually reduce the price of their vehicles as per their fucking master plans, which have, again, they've been online for a while. Don't know how people missed that or were surprised. With Tesla stock up about 75% in 2023. If you thought the reaction from legacy automotive manufacturers to Tesla's recent price cuts was profound and potentially catastrophic, it is. Just you wait until Tesla begins production of their next generation vehicle, which we're going to learn about in less than 1 month at Tesla's Investor Day in 2023. Today's video is a sneak peek of the impact a minimal price decrease on very expensive vehicles can cause in terms of consumer demand. We heard Tesla's order flow is now about 2 times as many vehicles ordered per day as they are actually producing vehicles per day. And that is at absurdly high prices for most consumers globally. As you guys and girls watch today's video, just think about the implications when Tesla has a much more affordable electric vehicle being mass-produced and sold globally. This war will be over before it's even started. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I was just reading this tweet from some guy with 3 first names on December 30th who said, it's going to be interesting to see the Tesla year-to-date change in 2023, starting from an incredibly low base. Never heard of this guy. And in completely unrelated matters, Tesla's stock year-to-date up 74.16%. Who could have seen that coming? I mean, what a shock. I'm surprised. I didn't describe this as the best risk-adjusted opportunity in the stock market that I was aware of. I wasn't buying. I didn't buy Tesla stock as Christmas presents for family members either. That in mind, over the last 1 year, Tesla stock's still down over 36%. And from its recent peak closing price back in November 2021, still down over 50%. Which makes sense because, I mean, their deliveries have halved, their revenues halved, the company's collapsing, the competition's coming, Tesla Q are right, Tesla's just a gigantic, intricate fraud, autonomy will never happen, plus Elon bad. So I think what I'm trying to say is, I definitely didn't see this coming. If I had of, I would have been talking about how it didn't seem to make sense to me and saying the exact same fucking thing every single day on every daily video for months and months and months and months and months. But hey, nobody's perfect. Oh, by the way, I know you guys probably aren't aware because I never mention it, but I actually have a Patreon account with over 285 exclusive videos, plus Tesla price targets and optional access to a Tesla valuation model, where you can see every assumption I have for Tesla for the next decade. Vehicles sold, gross automotive margins, robo-taxi revenue, you name it, it's in there. If you're not a member of Patreon, you probably don't know how to find it because I've never mentioned it before, but you can click the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment to join. I should definitely remember to plug my Patreon a little bit more, shouldn't I?
Welcome back to the watch list. I'm Nicole Petalides. It's time to focus on EVs, electric vehicles. Joining me right now, Steve Wesley, founder, managing partner, the Wesley Group. Thanks for being with us. I was looking at some of your stats where the sales, while auto sales were down, EV sales jumped over 80%. So that tells me there's demand, right? I mean, where do we stand in the world of EVs and the demand picture?
Well, look, there's a huge demand for EVs. And what's happening now is that Tesla has inadvertently started a price war that other automakers just weren't ready for. So expect to see other automakers now, Ford, others will have to follow suit, slashing prices. Great news for consumers. But here's the thing you got to think about. Tesla can afford it. They earn 15.7 thousand gross profit per vehicle they sell. And think about this, Tesla margins 5x larger than Ford, 4x larger than Toyota, 2x larger than Volkswagen, and General Motors is losing money on every EV. So the question is, great news for consumers. What does this do for the auto company's bottom line?
Now, that is a great question, although we all know the answer. What does it do to their bottom line? It accelerates their ultimate demise and eventual bankruptcy. Outside of China, no one is making any money selling electric vehicles. We just heard there from Steve Wesley discussing the automotive margins from some of Tesla's so-called competition, but that's based on their currently, and I do use the word currently, profitable ICE vehicle sales, which for the next couple of years may still be a great source of profits. But as we're seeing, sales of ICE vehicles are literally beginning to fall off a cliff. Tesla has officially declared war. There will be a lot of casualties. Tesla has officially reached escape velocity. They have enough scale, compelling enough products, and they're making enough profit per vehicle sold that they're all but bulletproof over the next decade. They've made it to the other side of hell. Remember, if you're going through hell, keep going. Every other automotive manufacturer hoping to eventually compete with Tesla and not go bankrupt needs to climb multiple Mount Everests and somehow survive. And my best guess, it's probably at least a half-decade window of time where these automotive manufacturers need to somehow go through hell and suffer catastrophic losses on every vehicle sold while their ICE vehicle sales collapse, their previous profit drivers of the business disappear, meaning these companies need to go to market, issue stock, borrow tens of billions of dollars in an attempt to tide them over and bridge the gap between low volume unprofitable EV production and eventually, hopefully, scaling production and innovating in terms of manufacturing to the point where they can actually make money on these vehicles sold. The problem is, Tesla has a permanent, unassailable cost advantage. They're too far ahead. The next 5 years, the next half decade, are critical to all automotive manufacturers globally, whether they produce ICE vehicles, EVs only, or both. Tesla has already made it to the other side, and they were first by a big margin. This isn't a race everyone is guaranteed to finish. In fact, on the contrary, very few will even finish this race and make it to the other side. The fact that Tesla has this pricing power, they dictate terms. Here's how much consumers will pay for a compelling electric vehicle with these specs, because we're selling one at this price for these specs. As Tesla continues to drive their costs down, they can pass these cost savings on, and other companies attempting to stay in business will need to cut their prices, or they won't be selling vehicles. But hang on, if they need to cut prices to stay in business, as in to keep selling vehicles, but by cutting prices, they'll go out of business because they're losing more and more money on each vehicle sold. Hang on, I'm just thinking through this logically here. So, need to cut prices to stay in business, but cutting prices will put you out of business, but not cutting prices will put you out of business. I think that means either way, they're f***ed. No, really, like they actually are f***ed. This is not hyperbole. I know it sounds hyperbolic. I've been saying this for years since the channel launched. They're all going out of business. I didn't say that because it sounded cool or was controversial. I said it because it was true. It's going to happen. No, really, it's going to happen. You guys understand, right? Like, I'm not joking when I say these companies are all f***ed. We're going to see a massive consolidation in the automotive industry in the next 5 years. Massive. Allow me to explain how the death spiral plays out after this. You have got your athletic greens using the link in the description, right? A year's supply of vitamin D3 and K2. One of my biggest health hacks. And keep those DMs coming through. I love hearing your success stories. I'm pleased to see how many intelligent viewers there are on this channel. You've taken the plunge, tried athletic greens, and are already sending me messages saying I've got more energy, I feel better, I'm sleeping better, my mood's improved, blah, 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 blah. This stuff really is no joke. athleticgreens.com/SMR. 90-day money back guarantee. Nothing to lose. Plenty to gain. And now back to the health and longevity of legacy automotive manufacturers. As we've discussed recently, this is a death spiral. And at some point, the penny's going to drop. The capital markets will realize that EVs are the future, ICE vehicle sales are collapsing, and companies like Ford, General Motors, etc. are seriously f***ed. At that point, if these companies need to borrow tens of billions of dollars in an attempt to transition to EVs, and if they need to sustain multi-billion-dollar quarterly losses for years, hopefully making out the other end. They have no money coming in, no profits from their ICE vehicle sales, which have since collapsed, and capital markets recognize they're probably going bankrupt. No one's going to want to lend them money, at least not at reasonable terms. Oh, and then there's the whole finance part of the automotive businesses as well, which let's not even go there. Tesla can afford to cut prices. Tesla's competition can't afford for Tesla to cut prices. But Tesla's competition doesn't determine whether or not Tesla cuts prices. Tesla does. Tesla will almost single-handedly determine the fate of the world's legacy automotive manufacturers.
And the big issue here, if you're an investor, especially for Ford, are the trucking wars, because you've got to hand it to Ford. 42 years in a row, biggest selling vehicle in America. Ford F-150 Lightning, great truck, but they only sold 13.2 thousand units last year. Rivian, great truck. They only sold 24,000 units. Tesla's about to start selling their Cybertrucks in Q3 from a massive new plant in Austin. And if they sell even a fraction of the 1.4 million pre-orders, that could really cut into the Ford Auto Company's revenues and profits. So Ford's going to need to buckle up. Let's hope they can hold on to market share. We'll see.
This is a very important point from Steve Wesley. Pickup truck sales, the most popular vehicle in the United States. Not quite sure why. It's obviously a cultural thing because I don't think that many people actually need the functionality of a pickup truck. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I've got to give credit to Ford. They actually do have an electric F-150 available on the market. However, as Steve points out, they're currently producing approximately all units per year of the F-150 Lightning. Hopefully they can ramp this from all to slightly more than all to eventually a meaningful number of vehicles. But Tesla begins ramping production of Cybertruck mid this year. Could be a very, very rough ramp. New technology, I mean the exoskeleton, no one's ever done that before. But it is possible within a few years the Tesla may be making more Cybertrucks per year than Ford is F-150 Lightnings and then any other automotive manufacturer is making electric pickup trucks. I'm not sure Ford Tough is going to hold up in the advertising campaigns these days. Once a Cybertruck is released and people see what this thing can do, I think it's going to be a lot more consumers interested in this ugly ass motherfucker of a doorstop that actually is almost indestructible. Now, I'm not calling it yet, but if I was Ford, and I'm not, maybe someone can send this clip to Jim Farley, he seems to be paying some attention, I would drop everything, and just ramp the absolute out of the F-150 Lightning. Get that to scale as fast as possible, because that will drive profits once ramped up. In fact, if I was Ford, I would consider abandoning all other vehicle models and just get one category-killing, traditional-looking pickup truck available for consumers. Once Cybertruck production ramps up, deliveries begin, these things start appearing on roads and work sites, and people see what they can do. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
I mean, that doesn't even remote. I knew that the Cybertruck had all those pre-orders, over 1 million. You said 1.4. You know, I heard 1.1. Whatever. It's well over 1 million. It's a crazy number. You have to put a small amount down, so you know we'll see whether or not the people actually commit when it comes time. But 1 million versus the competition of the F-150 Lightning, which is a beauty. But you're talking 15,000. Did you just say 15,000 sold? Is that right?
I said 15,000. Now, the big question is, what do they grow to? And I have a feeling they will ramp up quickly. They should be at 50 or 100,000. But the sheer size and magnitude of Tesla's facility in Texas, combined with their expertise in manufacturing and, by the way, lower battery costs, I think they could blow by the others. And again, no one has been able to break into the Ford 150s market. If Tesla manages to sell 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 units this year, moving to something closer to 500,000, 600,000 next year, they will put a dent in Ford's most profitable sector.
Right, understood. And you said no one can catch up to Tesla, not at this time. The way they're making profit, you said GM won't be profitable for years to come, maybe till 2025. Tesla had the ability to cut the prices. Now we see the Mach-E over at Ford being cut. So what's the final takeaway here? Is there room for all of these names to do well?
The short answer is no.
Sometimes the shortest answer is the most accurate one. Steve is right. No, there isn't room for all of these companies to compete. There's going to be a massive consolidation, a huge number of bankruptcies, and very few winners.
Look, the auto industry contracted 8% last year. At precisely the same time, you see 25 new electric vehicle makers coming into the sector. There is going to be a shakeout. So what everybody needs to be looking at is who is growing and who can maintain profitability. Now, Tesla did 1.3 million units sold last year compared to 60,000 for Ford, 50,000 for GM.
You did it, Mary.
So they're already 15x ahead. The big question is this year, based on Tesla making the early price cuts, they look like they're going to vault ahead from 1.3 million units sold to something closer to 1.9 or 2 million units. If Ford and GM are still where I think they'll be in the 200,000 range, maybe a little north of that, Tesla's still going to have a 10x advantage. But they're no longer the major competitors. You got to look at Volkswagen. They've got major plants up and running in Europe, North America, and Asia. And the real challengers are probably the Chinese. Get used to hearing a lot about new brands like BYD and SAIC. The government's subsidizing them. They've got an advantage in the battery cost, and they're getting ready to come to Europe and North America. So get ready for the big truck smackdown and the big international car battle. This is going to be a fascinating race.
He's got a point. Expect an invasion from Chinese automotive manufacturers into Europe and the United States in the coming years, with fairly reliable, cost-effective, decent-looking electric vehicles. Consider these the equivalent of an Android phone versus an iPhone. GM, Ford, etc., legacy automotive manufacturers, they've already lost, and there's zero hope of them ever catching up to Tesla. They shouldn't even try. They should be very concerned, however, about the soon-to-be unleashed tsunami of Chinese electric vehicles.
I love it. I love it so much because obviously it's fascinating. We love to see the battle, and of course you want a fair playing field, but there's no doubt that Tesla has started early in this game and doing so well. I mean, you also have we talked about the Cybertruck. The semi-truck already has orders too from a lot of the big corporations, so they certainly bring a lot to the table. What about these other names? Are there some of these names abroad that you think could be formidable competitors? You mentioned BYD, I think of NIO and XPeng, and you mentioned a newer one, XAIC. You know, what about as China sales likely to increase?
So China sales are absolutely going to increase. And again, look at the big picture here. All of a sudden, after people worried about U.S. car manufacturing prowess, you've got Tesla, #1 auto seller in Australia. Tesla owning the U.S. luxury market in the U.S. for the first time in 25 years. A U.S. brand is beating the Germans for luxury sales and the Japanese. And Tesla, the Model Y, is the single largest selling car, gas or electric, in all of Europe. This has the Europeans going crazy. But nothing stays the same in the auto industry. And China is the world's largest auto market. BYD makes great cars. They're the master at selling low end. They may be where Honda was 30 years ago in the US market, and they're good cars. And they're gearing up to go international. So that's something Tesla has to be looking over its shoulder about. NIO looks pretty good. I'm a little concerned about their ability to produce vehicles profitably. And now you've got the Vietnamese maker, the first one, at an even lower cost point with VinFast opening showrooms as we speak in California. So it is a whole new world. But if you're an auto investor, it's no longer enough to know what the Japanese, the Europeans, and the Americans are doing. You need to be looking at China, and it's going to be fascinating.
Now, I want everybody to know, you used to sit on the board of Tesla, isn't that correct? So
That is correct.
At this point now, obviously everybody wants to know about Elon Musk. Is he still the right guy? Is he still focused on Tesla? I'd like you to answer that. As well as, where is the fair valuation of this company? There are many people who think it's fairly valued right where it is. There are some who think it's going to 500, and some well over 1,000 in the world of autonomous ride sharing. Give me an outlook and where Elon Musk fits in the picture.
Well, I was hoping you were going to ask some tougher questions. Well, let's tackle those too. First, I think Elon probably is the right guy for the job. Look, he's the father, essentially, of the global electric auto industry. He has led the field from start to finish, and he's not only developed the most innovative vehicles to date, but he's been a master at keeping costs down, bringing battery cost in-house, the first to really reap extra margins from what's called over-the-air software. So as long as he stays focused on Tesla, I think he'll be just fine. But focus is the key there. In terms of pricing, look, there's nothing magic about electric vehicles. The whole world's going that direction. Revenues are going to go up in that area, but you've got to look at the numbers. So here's what they are. Roughly $81 billion sold last year. That's up 45% over the year before. Now that they've cut prices, I think that number is going to rise. I think Tesla's on track to go from 1.3 million units sold to very close to 2 million sold. And the average price, even though they've done a cost cut, is likely to go up because they're going to be selling Cybertrucks, which tend to be more expensive. They're going to be selling their semis as well. Also, something no one looks about, and I just want to tease you with this, and we'll talk about it more in the future. Tesla also has a rapidly growing energy division where they're not just selling the power walls and the solar tiles for the roof, but they're selling 1.5 gigawatt power packs to utilities globally. So Tesla's doing something bolder, faster, bigger than just about anyone else. Stay tuned. It's going to take a while for someone to dethrone them.
We're going to call them a utility company too. What did you think I was going to ask you that was going to be harder? Are you buying or selling your shares? Well, what didn't I ask?
No. Predicting Elon's next move is tough enough. One thing I can promise is it's going to be exciting, but stay tuned on the energy front, because what customers are really looking for, especially as you move to electrics, are not just a car. They're looking for a turnkey solution. And that means, can you sell me the solar panels, the power wall, and the car all together? It's a whole new mindset. Millennials, Gen Z voters get it. Tesla's out front on it. The other auto companies are going to have to move hard to catch up. Ford's already followed suit. They have a relationship with Sunrun and LG Chem, so they're providing their own turnkey solution. The other auto companies are going to have to jump into this new world. But the promise out there that Mr. Musk has offered is, come with me at Tesla, and you'll never pay a penny for electricity or gasoline again. That's a pretty powerful value proposition.
This is actually an important point we often forget because Tesla's so dominant with electric vehicles, making so much progress with FSD. But the entire Tesla ecosystem over the long term looks like this. Tesla solar and or solar tiles on your roof, a power wall to store said energy and use said surplus energy to resell back to the grid, form energy arbitrage, print money while you're asleep and or awake with Tesla energy software, recharge your Tesla with your sustainably generated and stored energy. Alternatively, you may not own a Tesla, but you'll use Tesla robotaxis to get from point A to B to C to D to E to F and every other point. Because why would you use your own vehicle? Why would you own your own vehicle if you don't need to? Now, I know many people like the idea of having their personal transportation. I'm not one of them. I haven't personally owned a vehicle for 5.5 years. No doubt, over the longer term, Tesla will also have a HVAC system in many homes globally. A typical home may have Tesla solar, a Tesla Powerwall, Tesla HVAC system, maybe a Tesla vehicle or two parked in the garage, but more likely you'll just be using Tesla robotaxis on demand. A little bit further into the future beyond that point, you'll probably have a Tesla Model 3 helping around at home, in the garden, in the kitchen, in the bedroom, whatever you're into. Tesla is still in the first innings. And as I mentioned, we often get lost on one particular product, one particular technology. But long term, Tesla is going after a handful of multi-trillion-dollar opportunities. The world's finally just starting to maybe understand a little bit about Tesla's dominant position as it relates to electric vehicles. Still completely ignoring the energy business, including generation and storage, bad idea. Ignoring autonomy, and ignoring the potential of Tesla's humanoid robot, which is probably unwise. So to sum this one up in just a few words, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, there will be only one winner in this war, and you already know who that winner is. And if there's only one winner, I guess that means there's gonna be a shitload of casualties. Ain't gonna be pretty. Speaking of not pretty, if you'd like to see more of my not pretty face, head over to Patreon. Over 285 exclusive videos, my Tesla price tag, plus optional access to my Tesla valuation model. You can join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.